Naughty Dog's newest game is upon us, and it is not Uncharted 4, it is The Last of Us. And to tell us all about that, here is my friend Craig Shields.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll obviously start with the story, which is, the narrative is the main thing here in The Last of Us. It takes, you take Joel and Ellie across America for reasons I obviously won't spoil, but interesting reasons nonetheless. And it's set in a post-apocalyptic world where the quote "survival of the fittest." This is it. You're survivors.
Yeah.
That's what it's all. It's all about surviving. Along the way, it's about 13, 14, 15 hours long. Would you say?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long you took, but that's kind of how long I took. About 14 hours. You'll meet new people, friends, foes, and the story works in a way where if Uncharted is your summertime movie blockbuster, The Last of Us really goes. It's a hard hitting TV drama.
Yeah.
It
pulls at the heartstrings.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're not gonna spoil the opening or anything, but the opening, what would you say, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
It's really powerful. It's
instantly engages you with the rest of the game. It just sort of sets the tone.
Yeah, I think it's taken storytelling and going to a completely new level. Usually there has to be like a series of games for me to be really kind of connected to characters, something like Mass Effect was built up. But with The Last of Us, this is obviously the first game of this franchise, and almost immediately, I would say within half hour to an hour, I'm already thinking about Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Who are these new characters? Are they going to help me along the way? Are they
and
not?
they find this amazing balance between the characters and just the visuals of the game generally, because you'll be going through this really gritty, dark, dirty, sort of dungeony looking place.
Yeah.
And there'll be creepers all around, and it'll just be so grim. It's almost horrifying. I mean, I've jumped a few times playing it, and then they also take a step back and they show you just how beautiful this kind of new world can look as well. I mean, if you've been living under a rock and not seen what The Last of Us looks like, try and picture I Am Legend. It's that kind of setting where there's a lot of kind of the wildlife's taken over the city in a way, and there's loads of greenery everywhere, but there's a lot of destruction as well. And it's just such a cool environment to be in.
Yeah, this is the sort of experience. Also, The Last of Us brings the sort of experience that you definitely could not have had on, say, the last generation of consoles.
No.
And only sort of Naughty Dog have been able to kind of eke this out of a aging PS3. And it's really exciting to see what they're doing both graphically and sort of with the story as well. It's really taking gaming in a way from that kind of middle ground where it's not really, a lot of people don't see it as mature, and it's pushing it in that direction where it's now the accepted sort of mainstream sort of mature. It's gaming growing up, or has grown up, and I think this is one of the pillars you can put to say, look, gaming is it's growing up now. It's here, sort of thing.
Yeah. So The Last of Us being a Naughty Dog game, there's going to be a lot of expectations based on what Uncharted controlled like, because I mean that was a big sort of hit with a lot of people. So gameplay of Last of Us, opinions?
Yeah, I mean I think we would be doing this disservice not to compare this to Uncharted 2 and 3 in particular. Both held as greatest games of this, two of the greatest games of this generation.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't really think it's anything like Uncharted, apart from the fact it's third person.
Yeah.
It's slower, it's more thoughtful. There's a lot more stealth. The stealth system is, it really works in this. Crouching behind items.
It feels almost very real in a sense. With Uncharted, it kind of feels a bit like, only Nathan Drake could do this.
Yeah.
But with The Last of Us, it feels very kind of, you truly believe all the actions that Joel, Ellie do in the game.
Yeah, I mean it's as we said about the story, it's very survivalist. It's that survival instinct, right down to the gameplay. I mean, you don't just get health packs picking up off the floor. Well, you do, but they're very, very rare. You can't pause the game to kind of look at your items list and kind of sort it out. You have to combine items. You have to combine the rag with the alcohol, and then even when you've got them, you have to make a decision. Do you make yourself a med kit, or do you turn that into a Molotov cocktail? And there's very limited supplies within the game to do that. and you
You've
have
got
to
to truly scavenge supplies.
Yes, you truly have to scavenge. It's definitely that post-apocalyptic world, that setting runs right through into the gameplay as well as the narrative, which I think is absolutely brilliant. You know, if you've got a group of soldiers, or well, not really soldiers, are they? Kind of militia or whatever, running after you. You've got to make sure you're in a safe place before you start crafting stuff, or you. Like what I tend to do is I always made sure at the end of every battle I was prepared for whatever was coming next.
Yeah.
So
You generally kind of think ahead about what could be coming.
Yeah.
In regards to your supplies and stuff like that.
Ammunition as well is very scarce. You know, usually if I play like a third-person game, by the end of the game, I think most people will find a big gun that they like and kind of an assault rifle or something they like, and just kind of switch between the two. This game, I probably used every gun just as much as all the others.
Mate, I just used whatever gun I had ammo for half the time. You know, especially towards the end, I was like, whatever gun has a bullet in it, I'll be using that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of philosophy, and they do it really well because they keep that balance again, where you're never like completely out of ammo. There's always going to be a bullet or two laying around, and it just gives you that a little bit longer. And it's just, it's really well done.
And even in one of the cutscenes, I think it might be Ellie, or it was either Ellie or Joel who say, you have to make sure every bullet counts.
Sort of shot a rifle before.
Whereas in other games that might be just kind of a token sort of gesture, in this game it actually matters.
BBs.
You know, there was times where during the gameplay where I've still got guys left. There's maybe 3 guys left. I've got 4 bullets. Okay, I've got to make this count.
Yeah.
Or be really good at stealthily taking them down.
And it's interesting because if you don't make a count and you miss 2 out of your 4 bullets, if a creeper gets you, you're dead. You know, there's no way of sort of
Clicker.
There's no way of escaping that. You know, they rip you apart very quickly, and it's very kind of just like, oh my god, I can't believe I died from that.
Yeah, I mean, like, as I said earlier, like we were talking about sort of groups of enemies, human enemies going against them, and that's kind of your standard sort of third person. There's a little bit of, you got to think intelligently if you're going to sneak up behind them and do one of the brutal sort of melee kills, which are really, really brutal. But if you are going up against the infected, who are in this world, the clickers in particular offer something a little bit different. They have no eyesight. So being in some of the rooms where there's later on where there's quite a few clickers, you have to be quiet and you have to take them out. If they come up to you and you don't have like a shiv, like a handmade sort of knife, you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about that, and it almost harkens back to the days of like the original Resident Evils.
Yeah.
Where at times I was truly terrified.
It's the simple thing that you do, like with the analog stick which you move with. You can do the thing where you slightly move it, only like a small bit, and you truly feel that you are actually moving at the pace that your kind of thumb's dictating in a way. It's really weird to describe, but they do it so well that you generally feel like, right, I'm not sneaking right now. If you've got your thumb down the whole way.
Yeah.
And and they know as well. The clickers hear it, and it's always interesting, especially when there's clickers and kind of the partially infected. The ones that aren't fully clickered yet, but they can still see, and especially when it's dark, you think, oh right, do I have my flashlight out now? Can the clickers see me? Are they infected? And it makes you think a lot about that kind of scenario.
Yeah, the gameplay draws in the environment an awful lot. It's something you just have to kind of be aware of. The only thing I would say as a negative against The Last of Us is just sometimes with the AI. Not that there's anything wrong with the AI. It doesn't actually affect you, but sometimes when you're hiding from a number of enemies, the AI will just kind of randomly just appear out in the open, and enemies can see them. There's no doubt about that, but it doesn't have it so you're spotted. So it doesn't affect your game, but I think just a little bit. It just takes you out of the immersion a little bit.
Yeah.
That's been created.
And the great thing about the AI, though, I mean, obviously that is an issue. It's one of those little things that's like a niggly bit, but I also found at times the AI, especially Ellie, when I was sort of playing throughout, she would do things that I didn't expect her to do. I'd be hiding, waiting for an enemy, just letting him pass, and she would just jump out, stab him, and I'd be like, what are you doing? You're crazy. But it was really interesting because it makes you quickly adapt to the situations that are going. She very much, freely runs around for herself.
Not only have we got a fantastic single player mode with The Last of Us, it also comes with a multiplayer mode. which Naughty Dog started doing multiplayer sort of with Uncharted 2, improved that with Uncharted 3, and The Last of Us, I think in a way it's taken a step up as well, because it's a completely different multiplayer. It's more sort of thoughtful. It's slower. It's not all guns blazing. There is only 2 modes though. At the minute, they're going to improve that with DLC and whatnot. But at the minute, you've got Survivor and Supply Raid. Both modes I've kind of focused on just staying alive, to be honest with you. With Survivor, my particular favourite, as once you're dead, that's it. That's you done for that round, and you've got to wait till either all of your members are dead or all the opposition members are dead. Within the multiplayer as well, there's also a kind of meta game where you're building up survivors in your kind of fictional sort of world. You start with a little number of survivors, and then as the days and weeks pass by, each multiplayer game you play takes up a day, and then sort of there's little sort of missions in between. I mean, it's the meta game overlay on the multiplayer is more of a window dressing more than anything else, but it is a little bit nice to see something rather than just your XP go up continually. So it is quite good in a nice little way. It's certainly more of a thinking man's multiplayer than your traditional kind of first person shooter ones, and for that I think it's really, really good, and I'm quite excited to see it expand with the DLC that's coming over the next few months. Get down. If I could sum The Last of Us up, it would be very, very difficult. There's probably one moment in particular towards the end of the game that actually doesn't involve any gameplay input at all, but it was probably the moment where The Last of Us, for me on a personal level, transitioned from being just a game to something just a whole lot more, and something I would say never really experienced with a video game before. It doesn't quite, at a purely primary gameplay level, it doesn't succeed in rewriting sort of video game lore like a Mario 64 or perhaps a Halo once did. But what it does do is it refines and improves on almost everything from narrative to just the way it operates as a third-person shooter on almost everything that's come before. And The Last of Us is truly one of the games of this generation